The grand chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with uneasy tension. Delegates from 47 distinct species filled their designated places, their diverse bodies forming a vivid mosaic of scales, fur, plumage, and stranger forms still. The sudden emergency session had summoned them all, and speculation rippled through the hall. At the central podium stood Ambassador Kale of the Altari Federation. His azure skin seemed unusually pale, his typically composed manner visibly unsettled. The Altari, famed across the stars as gentle explorers and seekers of harmony, rarely showed distress. Yet today Kale's expression was haunted, as if he had glimpsed something dreadful. "Honored members of the council," Kale began, his voice steady but edged with strain as it echoed through the hall. Translation matrices. "I stand before you with grave news. Our exploration fleet has encountered a new species on the galaxy's distant rim. They name themselves humans, and their home is called Earth." A ripple of murmurs spread through the chamber. The discovery of a new people always stirred excitement. Though the galaxy was vast, sentient life remained rare and treasured. Many representatives leaned forward, eager for more. Rising from his seat came General Vex of the Dronus Empire. The towering reptilian warrior loomed nearly twice the size of most in attendance. Crimson scales shimmered beneath the council lights, and his piercing yellow eyes locked onto Kale with a hunter's focus. "A new species means new territories," Vex rumbled, his voice echoing like distant thunder. "New resources, new worlds to fold into the Empire. Truly, this is welcome news." Several delegates nodded in agreement. The Dronus Empire ruled over 50 star systems and never ceased its hunger for more. Their war fleets were unmatched across known space, their record flawless. But Kale shook his head sharply. "No, General, you do not grasp the truth. These humans, they are unlike any we have met. They are dangerous in ways beyond imagining." Laughter erupted from the Dronus section. Vex's officers clearly found the warning ridiculous. The Altari were famed for their cautious nature, but this sounded absurd even for them. "Dangerous?" Vex repeated with a mocking smile. "Ambassador, forgive me, but your kind sees danger in your own reflections. How could a single primitive race ever threaten the mighty Dronus Empire?" Kale's fingers quivered as he activated the holographic sphere above the dais. A glowing vision of a blue-green world shimmered to life, oceans and continents strangely familiar. "Allow me to explain what we discovered," Kale whispered. "Earth is a beautiful planet, abundant in resources, seemingly ideal for life. When our explorers first drew near, we expected to find a calm young civilization, perhaps only beginning to awaken. The projection shifted, showing sprawling human cities, towers scraping the skies, machines gliding across roads, a sea of lights shimmering in the night. They have achieved basic spaceflight," Kale continued. "Small colonies upon their moon and neighboring worlds. At first glance, they appeared no different from countless emerging species. So we followed protocol. We reached out with peace." The council leaned in, intrigued. First contact was a well-rehearsed process, one the Altari had perfected after welcoming dozens of peoples into the galactic fold. But Kale's tone dropped lower, his words weighted with dread. What came next shattered everything we believed about war. Images flickered Altari ships landing, humans greeting them with smiles, handshakes, and fascination. "They welcomed us," Kale said softly. "Eager, curious, open to learning of the stars. We stayed months among them, sharing knowledge." General Vex sighed, unimpressed. "This sounds routine, Ambassador. Where is this danger?" Kale's gaze locked with his, and something in his eyes made even the mighty reptilian pause. "The danger, General, lies in their history." A hush fell as he spoke. "In all our studies, we found one truth that chilled us. Humans have never known peace. For their entire recorded existence, they have lived in war." Commander Czar of the hegemony scoffed. Many of us have violent beginnings. Predation forged us all. What makes them unique? Kale's voice hardened. Because they never stopped. Some civilizations found peace through treaties. Others through conquest or simple exhaustion. But humanity? They have been fighting each other for 5 millennia without a single decade of true global peace. Silence swept the chamber. Uneasy glances were exchanged. Kale pressed on. They fought with stone clubs, with bronze blades and iron shields, with rifles, machines, and cannons, with weapons that split atoms and erased cities in fire. The display shifted again, armies clashing with spears, knights charging in steel, soldiers drowning in trenches, and finally, towering mushroom clouds consuming entire horizons. They have made everything into a weapon, Kale whispered. Awe and dread woven together. Their music, their art, even words. They craft poisons to kill millions, diseases to erase civilizations, bombs to tear the very crust of planets. General Vex leaned forward now, his earlier amusement fading into something else. Interested. Impressive weapons for primitives, but weapons can be countered. Numbers can overwhelm any defense. You still do not understand, Kale said desperately. It is not their weapons that make them dangerous. It is their minds. They think about war differently than we do. The ambassador actived another set of images. These showed human militaries where young humans studied the art of warfare. We study war so we can avoid it, Kylie explained. Humans study war so they can perfect it. They have schools dedicated to the science of combat. They analyze every battle they have ever fought, learning from each victory and defeat. They write books about strategy that are thousands of years old and still studied today. They create simulations of battles that never happened just to explore new ways of fighting. They turn warfare into mathematics, calculating exactly how to achieve maximum destruction with minimum resources. The chamber was completely silent now. Even General Vex had stopped lowing. But perhaps most terrifying of all, Kale continued, is that they know when to stop despite having the power to destroy their own world many times over. They choose restraint. They are not mindless killers or savage beasts. They are intelligent. Calculating warriors who understand the true cost of war better than anyone else in the galaxy. Kale looked directly at General Vex. When our cultural exchange was complete, I asked their military leaders what would happen if someone attacked Earth. Do you know what they told me? The general said nothing, waiting. They said they would not just defend themselves. They would hunt down every ship, every base, every world that belonged to their attackers. They would dismantle their enemy's entire civilization, piece by piece, until nothing remained but ashes and regret. Kyle's voice grew urgent. And then, General, they smiled. The warning hung in the air like a physical presence, chilling every being in Thagreed Hall. 3 days after Ambassador Kale's warning, the Draconis Empire held its war council. The massive chamber deep within their home world was carved from black stone with red crystals proving harsh lighting that cast sharp shadows on the walls. Around a circular table sat the Empire's most powerful military leaders. Emperor Thrax dominated the room from his throne-like chair. The ancient ruler was the largest Draconis anyone had ever seen. His dark red scales bearing the scars of 100 battles. His yellow eyes burned with ambition as he studied the holographic star map floating above Theodable. So Thrax rumbled, his voice like grinding stone. The Altari fear these humans. They speak of danger and destruction. He laughed, a sound like breaking rocks. The same Altari who surrender at the first sign of conflict. The same weaklings who beg for peace when we take their worlds. General V stood at attention beside the table. My Emperor, I witnessed Kale's presentation myself. The ambassador seemed genuinely frightened. Perhaps Wes'll investigate further before taking action. Investigate? Thrax's eyes narrow wet dangerously. Are you suggesting the mighty Draconis Empire should cower before rumors and ghost stories? Of course not, my lord, Vex said quickly. But the Altari excel in scouts. Their information is usually accurate. Their information about military strength is worthless. Admiral Rex interrupted from across the table. The naval commander was younger than most others present, but his record was perfect. He had conquered 12 star systems for the Empire, without losing a single major battle. Look at the facts, Rex continued, activating his own holographic display. This human homeworld, Earth, sits alone on the outer rim. They have barely achieved faster than light travel. Our intelligence house, they have small mining operations on nearby asteroids, and a tiny research station on their moon. The display showed images captured by long-range drone spy probes. Human spacecraft looked primitive compared to Empire vessels. Their largest ships were clearly designed for cargo transport, not warfare. Their technology is at least 200 years behind ours. Rex explained. They use chemical rockets for most of their space travel. Their weapons appear to be based on projectile systems rather than energy weapons. They do not even have proper shield technology. Emperor Thrax leaned forward with interest. What about their planetary defenses? Minimal, Rex replied confidently. A few orbital platforms around Earth itself, but nothing that could stop a proper invasion fleet. Their military appears to be focused on ground-based forces, not space combat. Commander Drex, leader of the Empire's ground forces, snorted with amusement. Primitive people. Thrax dismissed. Every species fights before it learns civilization. The strong survive. The weak serve. It is the natural order, but my lord, Vex pressed. Kale seemed to believe their experience makes them dangerous. Thrax turned to face his general, and Vex immediately lowered high size in submission. Are you questioning my judgment, General? Never, my Emperor. I merely suggest caution. Caution is for the weak, Thrax declared. The Draconis Empire was built through strength and decisive action. We have conquered 50 star systems. We have defeated species with technology far superior to these humans. We have never lost a war. The Emperor returned to his throne. Decision made. Admiral Rex, you will assemble the conquest fleet. General Vex, prepare ground forces for occupation duties. Commander Drex, ready the slave processing centers. My lord, Rex said with excitement. Shall I inform the Galactic Council of our intentions? Standard protocol requires protocol. Thrax laughed harshly. Since when does the Empire ask permission to expand? The humans are not council members. They have no treaties or protections. They are free territory waiting to be claimed. The War Council erupted in approving growls and battle cries. The Dracones had not had a proper conquest in over a year, and the warriors were eager for action. Besides, Thrax continued, the council is full of weak species like the Altari. They would waste months debating and negotiating. By the time they make a decision, Earth will already be flying our flag. Within hours, orders went out across the Draconis Empire. Shipyards worked overtime to prepare vessels for war. Weapons were loaded, troops were briefed, and supply chains were organized. The machinery of conquest began to turn. Admiral Rex stood on the bridge of his flagship, the massive Dreadnought Empire's Wrath. Through the viewport, he could see the assembled fleet. 300 ships of various sizes, from nimble fighters to planet-killing battleships. It was enough firepower to reduce worlds to ash. Admiral, his communications officer reported. The fleet is ready for departure. Excellent, Rex replied. Set course for the Sol system, maximum speed. As the Draconis warfleet engaged there, faster than light drives, and disappeared into hyperspace, heading toward Earth. None of them noticed the small Altari scout ship that had been monitoring their preparations. Ambassador Kale watched the departure with growing dread. His attempts to warn the council had failed. His direct apples to the Emperor had been ignored. Now the most powerful military force in the galaxy was heading toward a world they did not understand. Kale tried desperately to send a warning message to Earth, but drownness, jamming technology blocked all communications to the Sol system. The humans would face the invasion alone with no warning of what was coming. As his ship jumped to hyperspace, racing to alert the Galactic Council, Kale could only hope that his fears were wrong. Perhaps the humans were just another primitive species after all. Perhaps that Draconis would achieve another easy victory. But deep in his heart, the ambassador knew better. The galaxy was about to learn why humans smiled when they talked about war. The Draconis warfleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system like a cloud of metal death. 300 ships of various sizes spread across the darkness, their hulls gleaming with weapon ports and armor plating. Admiral Rex stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying the tactical displays with satisfaction. "Report," he commanded his bridge. "Crew, long-range scanners show minimal activity around the third planet," his sensor officer replied. "Several small orbital stations, a few dozen ships moving between the inner planets. No major defensive installations detected." "Just as our intelligence predicted," Rex said with a smile. "These humans are even more primitive than expected. Signal the fleet to assume attic formation." The massive Draconis ships began moving into their standard conquest pattern. Heavy battleships formed the front line, their plasma cannons charging for planetary bombardment. Carrier vessels released worms of fighter craft that buzzed around the larger ships like angry insects. Troop transports hung back, waiting for the initial bombardment to clear any resistance. "Admiral," the communications spike reported. "We are receiving a transmission from the human vessels. How many ships are they sending to meet us?" Rex asked, expecting to hear about desperate evacuation. "Fleets or perhaps Asmo militia force." 37 ships, sir. They appear to be converted civilian vessels, cargo haulers, mining ships, and what looks like a passenger transport." Rex lawed so hard he nearly fell from his command chair. 37 ships against our 300. He wiped tears from his yellow eyes. These humans are either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. The human fleet approached slowly, their ships looking like scrap metal compared to the sleek Draconis war vessels. Thelagest's human ship was barely 1/10 the size of Rex's flagship, and most were much smaller. "Sir, they are requesting the communications officer reported." "Put them through," Rex said, still chuckling. "I want to hear what these primitives have to say before we destroy them." The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of a human vessel. A man in a simple military uniform sat in the captain's chair, his expression calm and alert. His name tag read, Captain Blake. "This is Admiral Rex of the Draconis Empire," Rex announced proudly. "I am here to claim this system for the Empire. Ya will surrender immediately, and your deaths will be quick." Captain Blake studied the Admiral for a moment, then replied in a steady voice. "This is Captain Blake of the Earth Defense Force. You have entered our territory without permission and with obvious hostile intent. You have exactly 10 minutes to leave our system, or we will be forced to defend ourselves." The Draconis bridge crew erupted in laughter. Even Rex's most serious officers found the humans' words amusing. "Defend yourselves?" Rex asked, still smiling. "Captain, I have 300 warships. You have 37 cargo vessels. Do you understand mathematics?" Blake's expression did not change. "Admiral, we tried peace once. It didn't work out very well for the people who broke it. You now have 9 minutes and 30 seconds. You dare threaten the Draconis Empire." Rex's amusement turned to anger. "I will enjoy watching your primitive world burn." 8 minutes, Blake replied calmly. "And cut the communication." Rex turned to his weapons officer. "Target their flagship. One shot from our main cannon should be enough to show them the futility of resistance." Firing main plasma cannon, the weapons officer reported. A brilliant beam of energy lanced out from the Draconis flagship, capable of melting through the armor of any known ship. It struck Blake's vessel directly in the center. The human ship's hull glowed white-hot for a moment. Then something impossible happened. Instead of exploding or melting, the ship absorbed the energy and continued moving forward, as if nothing had occurred. What? Rex stared at his tactical display in confusion. How is their ship still intact? Unknown, sir, his weapons officer replied, panic creeping into his voice. The energy signature shows a direct hit, but there is no damage visible. Fire. Again, all forward batteries. Multiple energy beams struck the human fleet, but the results were the same. The ship seemed to shrug off weapons that could destroy cities. Sir, the sensor officer called out urgently. The human ships are accelerating. They are moving into attack formation. Rex watched in disbelief as the small human fleet spread out and began approaching his massive armada. Their movement patterns were unlike anything he had ever seen, seemingly random, but somehow perfectly coordinated. All ships opened fire, Rex commanded. Destroy them. The Draconis fleet unleashed everything they had. Plasma cannons, energy torpedoes, and particle beams filled space with deadly light. But the human ships danced between the attacks like they knew exactly where each shot would go. Then the humans fired back. What came from their ships were not energy weapons or advanced missiles. They were simple chunks of metal accelerated to incredible speeds. But when these primitive projectiles hit Draconis vessels, they punched through shields and armor like they were made of vapor. Impossible! Rex shouted as he watched 3 of his battleships torn apart by what appeared to be glorified billets. How are they penetrating our shields? Sir, his science officer replied with terror in his voice. Those projectiles are moving at significant fractions of light speed. At those velocities, mass becomes irrelevant. They are hitting us with the force of small stars. The battle turned into a nightmare for the Draconis. Their superior numbers meant nothing when human ships moved like ghosts appearing where they were least expected. Their advanced weapons were useless against enemies who seemed to predict every attack. Worse still, the humans fought with a coordination that defied explanation. When one human ship was damaged, others would immediately move to protect it. When Draconis ships grouped together for mutual defense, human vessels would appear from impossible angles to strike at weak points. Admiral, his tactical officer screamed. The humans are using their own ships as weapons. Rex looked up to see one of the smaller human vessels accelerating directly toward his flagship. The ship's engines glowed white-hot as it built up speed. Evasive maneuvers, Rex ordered, but it was too late. The human ship struck the Draconis flagship at tremendous velocity, but instead of a simple collision, something far worse happened. The human vessel exploded at the moment of impact, turning itself into a directed nuclear explosion that tore through the flagship's hull like tissue paper. Emergency alarms blared throughout the bridge as ATM. His emergency breathing mask. All ships retreat to hyperspace. The surviving Draconis vessels fled in panic, leaving behind a wreckage of 75 ships, a quarter of their entire fleet destroyed in less than 30 minutes. Draconis fleet jumped to hyperspace. Captain Blake's voice reached them on an open channel. You had your chance to leave peacefully. Tell your Emperor that if he wants Earth, he'll have to come and take it himself. We'll be waiting. In the silence of space, the human fleet regrouped around their damaged vessels, already beginning repairs. They had fought the most powerful military force in the galaxy and won decisively. The war had begun, and the Draconis Empire had just learned their first lesson about underestimating humans. Admiral Rex returned to the Draconis homeworld in shame. His once mighty flagship limped into port with massive hull breaches and half its crew dead. The sight of the defeated fleet shocked the entire empire. Never before had Draunus forces suffered such devastating losses. Emperor Thrax received the admiral in the throne room, his yellow eyes burning with rage. The massive ruler's claws scraped against the stone throne as he listened to the battle report. 75 ships destroyed. Thrax repeated slowly, his voice like grinding metal. A quarter of our invasion fleet defeated by 37 primitive vessels. My emperor, Rax said, kneeling before the throne. These humans fight unlike any enemy we have faced. Their weapons are crude but effective. Their tactics are unpredictable. They seem to know exactly what we will do before we do it. Excuses. Thraxra roared, standing to his full towering height. The Draconus Empire does not lose battles to primitives. You will return with the full battle fleet. Every ship we have crushed these humans completely. Within days, the Empire mobilized its entire military force. 800 warships gathered in space above the Draconis home world. The largest fleet ever assembled. General Vex commanded Thayground forces while Admiral Rex led the space battle groups. They would not underestimate the humans again. This time we take no chances, Thrax declared at the final War Council. Bombard every human world from orbit. Turn their planets to glass. Leave nothing alive. The massive armada jumped to hyperspace, heading for Earth with enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. But this time, the humans were ready. Earth's defense force had grown during the month between battles. The 37 ships that fought the first engagement had become over 200 vessels. More importantly, these were no longer converted civilian craft. They were purpose-built warships designed specifically to kill Draunus. Captain Blake stood on the bridge of the new flagship, Humanity's Relve. The vessel looked nothing like the cargo hauler he had commanded in the first battle. This ship was sleek, deadly, and covered in weapon systems that the Draconis had never seen before. Sir, his communications officer reported. Long-range sensors detect the Draunus fleet. 800 ships, all military class. 800, Blake mused. They're serious. This time, signal the fleet to assume defensive positions around Earth, and activate the orbital platforms. What the Dracana scouts had missed during their reconnaissance were the massive weapon platforms humanity had built in Earth's shadow. Disguised as asteroids and space debris, these installations contained humanity's most devastating weapons. When the Draunus fleet arrived, they found not 37 ships, but a coordinated defense network that spanned the entire solar system. Human vessels moved in perfect formation while hidden platforms powered up weapons that glowed with dangerous energy. All ships attack, Admiral Rex commanded, determined not to repeat his previous failure. Overwhelmed them with numbers, the Draunus fleet charged forward like an avalanche of metal and fire. But as they entered the inner solar system, they discovered that the humans had learned from the first battle too. The space around Earth erupted in explosions as hidden mines detonated against Draunus hulls. These were not random explosions. Each blast was precisely timed and positioned to cause maximum damage. The humans had turned the vacuum of space itself into a weapon. Impossible. Rex shouted as he watched dozens of his ships torn apart by traps he never saw coming. How did they mini an entire star system in 1 month? His science officer studied the tactical displays with growing horror. Admiral, these are not simple mines. Each explosion is coordinated with the others. The humans have calculated the exact blast patterns needed to destroy our formations. The human fleet attacked while the Draconis were still reeling from the minefield. But this time, the humans did not rely on converted cargo ships and desperate tactics. They fought with military precision that made the Draconis look like amateurs. Human vessels moved in groups of 3, each group covering the other's weaknesses. When Draconis ships tried to surround them, the humans would scatter and regroup instantly. When the aliens attempted to retreat, human ships would appear behind them as if they had predicted the movement. How are they everywhere at once? General Vex demanded from his command ship. "It is as if they know our battle plans before we make them." The truth was even more disturbing. The humans had studied every recorded Draconis battle for the past century. They knew exactly how the Empire fought, what tactics they used, and how they would respond to any situation. The Draconis military doctrine, which had conquered 50 worlds, was completely predictable to human strategists. But the real horror came when Draconis forces tried to land on human colonies. The Empire had planned to use their superior ground forces to capture human worlds, but they found that every human settlement had become a fortress. On Mars, Draconis troops landed to find empty cities that turned into death traps. Every building was booby-trapped. Every street was a kill zone, and every human civilian was apparently a trained soldier. The Red Planet became a graveyard for Draconis ground forces. "Sir," Commander Drex reported from the surface, his voice filled with panic. "The humans have disappeared. The entire population has vanished, but they left behind thousands of automated weapons. The cities are killing our troops without any defenders present." On Europa, the Ice Moon's human mining colonies proved even more dangerous. The humans had used their knowledge of the moon's unstable ice sheets to create massive traps. When Draconis forces landed, entire sections of the surface collapsed, swallowing hundreds of troops in freezing water. But most disturbing of all was what happened on the asteroid belt mining stations. The humans did not fight to defend them. Instead, they evacuated completely, leaving behind what appeared to be normal mining equipment. When Draconis forces occupied the stations, they discovered too late that the mining equipment had been converted into weapons. Asteroid processing plants became mass drivers, firing chunks of rock at near light speed toward Draconis ships. The aliens found themselves under bombardment from their own captured positions. "They have turned everything into a weapon." Rex screamed as another of his battleships was destroyed by what had once been a simple ore processor. Their mining equipment, their construction tools, even their waste disposal systems are trying to kill us. The war that Draconis expected to win in days dragged on for months. Every victory came at a terrible cost, and the humans adapted to every tactic faster than seemed possible. Worse still, captured Draconis technology began appearing in human hands, improved and turned against its original creators. "Admiral," his intelligence officer reported during one particular bad week, "the humans have somehow copied our shield technology and made it better. Their new ships are completely immune to our plasma weapons." "How is that possible?" Rex demanded. "We only lost those ships 3 days ago." "Unknown, sir. But they are also using our own communication frequencies to coordinate their attacks. They appear to understand our technology better than we do." As Draconis fleet slowly retreated toward the outer solar system, having lost over half their ships, Admiral Rex finally understood what Ambassador Kale had tried to warn them about. The humans were not just defending their home. They were learning, adapting, and evolving their tactics with every battle. The Draconis Empire, which had never lost a war, was being systematically dismantled by an enemy that treated warfare like Asians. 6 months after the war began, the remnants of the Draconis fleet limped back toward their home system. Admiral Rex commanded only 150 ships from the original 800 that had attacked Earth. His once proud armada was broken, defeated, and demoralized. But as they dropped out of hyperspace near the Draconis homeworld, Rex discovered something that made his blood freeze. Human ships were already there, waiting for them. "Impossible," Rex whispered, staring at the tactical display. 20 human vessels hung in space between his fleet and the planet, their sleek forms dark against the stars. "How did they get here?" "We destroyed all their hyperspace-capable ships." His science officer's voice trembled with fear. "Sir, these are not the same ships fought at Earth. The design is completely different." It appears they have reverse-engineered our faster than light technology and improved it. On the planet's surface, Emperor Thru stood in his throne room, watching through Thegreet windows as strange fires burned across his capital city. But these were not random fires of destruction. They were precise controlled burns that targeted only military installations, communication centers, and weapon factories. "Report," Thrax demanded as General Vex entered the chamber, his armor scorched and his scales blackened with smoke. "My Emperor," Vex said, barely able to stand. "The Humansa,"